Well, Jim, we got a very early goal, and that was it on the goal front, wasn't it?
It went in, and I said to my girlfriend, my living room, and the universe, please don't be 1-0. And within 2 or 3 minutes, I was like, I can see where this is going.
Yeah. After that goal went in, I remember thinking to myself, there's a predictable nature, if you like, about this, and I thought I'd bite your hand off for a 1-1 draw. And I didn't change. I still haven't changed my stance on it. Bournemouth, of course, beat Fulham 1-0, and Antoine Semenyo scored in the first minute.
Lovely goal.
It was a lovely goal. 52 seconds in, good counter-attack. From a Bournemouth point of view, a good goal. From a Fulham point of view, a very sloppy goal, Jim.
Yeah, and Anthony Robinson has been a standout performer for Fulham all season. And we've mentioned him many times on this show just because he stands out so much when you see him. And it's an unfortunate slip from him. It's an uncharacteristic slip from him as well, actually.
Castagna gave the ball away just before that, so there was kind of 2 errors in there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Semenyo's between the 2 defenders as well, so there's a lot to not like about that as a Fulham fan, isn't there?
Yeah, no, but I thought from Semenyo's point of view, which I think is how you have to look at it, it was a lovely goal. And we talk about wingers not being as direct as they might be nowadays. Well, what he does brilliantly is he's obviously can use that left foot, but he's predominantly right-footed. But he takes it on the right, and you think, okay, is he going to go past the outside defender? Just knocks it beautifully onto the left, and a great finish. I
wasn't aware he was predominantly right-footed. I always think of him as a left-footed player, which tells its own story, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it was one of the reasons why when people thought that he might be a replacement should Salah leave, they said, well, would he play off the right because he's more predominantly right-footed? And there are certain old-fashioned traditions that are not welcome in the modern era, Jim, and a right-footer playing on the right side in a forward position is not one of them.
So get lost, you Luddites.
Exactly.
Can't be having that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was it. I mean, it was Bournemouth flew out the traps, obviously scoring the goal, and were very much on the front foot for that first. I don't know what it was, sort of 25 minutes or forgive me, give or take. But they needed this really. I mean, they've been on a very poor run of form. They've dropped like a stone. They're still in the first half and they're still in the hunt for European football. But considering we were talking about them potentially for Champions League not that long ago, it has been a poor run of form. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, even talking about them for Europe now, they're up against it, aren't they? Because we've been worried about this section of the table being the only thing with something left to play for a while, and there is now a 6-point gap between Bournemouth in 8th and Aston Villa in 7th, and they're on level games as well. So they really, really had to kind of force themselves to be the top of that 3-team pack with Fulham and Brighton there as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think you could see that kind of tension there a little bit. But I think to me this did look like 2 very tired teams where you're starting to see the finish line of the season, and possibly both teams are thinking, "Oh, we might fall short of those European places, and perhaps things just your legs feel a bit heavier and everything feels a bit harder." That's sort of how it appered to me. Obviously, Evan Nilsson was unlucky hitting the bar in the first half as well. That might have made the game quite different.
It was a lovely move. That it was a shame for him. He never scored. That was a relief for Fulham. Do you think he should have scored?
I think he'll be disappointed from there, won't he? It's I think it's so close in that I suppose you've just got to get power on it, which might explain why he's gone for that rather than placement. So
do you think Ryan Sessegnon was disappointed that he didn't get more on that header that he had in the first half?
Yeah, that's probably the one Fulham chance, isn't it? Where you look back on it and think, oh, that was your one opportunity where you perhaps back the attacker to do something there, but it was just a bit apologetic, wasn't it? It's almost like he calmly headed it back to Kepa.
Is that the reason why one of the officials decided to take Ryan Sessegnon off?
That was so weird. What happened there?
Well, this happened, was it the other day or last week? It certainly happened recently where, I forget which game it was. But for those who didn't pick up on this or didn't see it, there was an admin error because Fulham made a triple substitution and Ryan Sessegnon's number was shown on the board, but it was mistakenly shown on the board, and Fulham weren't happy. But they didn't seem to be able to change it. And again, I forget where this happened recently, but it's like this weird thing of once the number's up, it's kind of like, well,
yeah. I mean, that's very weird.
You have to put another tenner in the machine to change the number, and we're not at liberty to do that.
You do apparently have to put a little card in it, don't you? Which feels like just, creating a process where there needs to just absolutely doesn't need to be one. His number's on his shirt and his socks.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's not like an old electricity meter, is it, Jim? Where you need to put credit on the card. Has anyone got any cash on them? No one has cash.
But what's the point of making it into a sort of like Sega Mega Drive? We have to pop a little cartridge in.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's just pointless.
Well, according to Premier League rules, once a player is subbed off, he can't return to the field of play during the same match.
Even if the fourth officials mess it up.
Yeah.
It just narcs, isn't they? Just absolute narcs.
It's maddening. There's a young lad who has only played a handful of games this season. You talk about tiredness, and it's like, nah, get him off the pitch, for crying out loud. So
for that to happen twice in quick succession, you got to question whether or not this goes all the way to City Hall, because that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think we need to call the NYPD in at some point to sort this out.
I think you might be right.
At various points in the match, the TV mics were picking up some rather foul-mouthed Fulham fans. Do you think that's why? Do you think they were fuming about the substitution, or was it the general performance? Because there were quite a few expletives, which A, isn't very Fulhamish, and B, why did nobody in Scottish Sports think, do you know what, can we send someone down there to move the microphones a little bit?
Yeah, or can we, I don't know, maybe you've got to put a little card in the microphone to adjust the volume of it or
Premier
something.
League rules, once they're there, you can't do it.
You can't move them. Why is that? Oh, shut up. Yeah, it was great. It was like they were having their own sweary little podcast, wasn't it?
There was
a lot of it was about Kepa.
Yeah, a lot of it was about the referees. It's all about you, isn't it? It's all about you. Yes.
Harsh.
Yeah, I mean, it does prove that football fans are the same.
Yes.
There's a lot of similar. As I say, it's not very Fulhamish, but they are football fans at the end of the day. And they went to the south coast in search of sunshine and 3 points.
Yeah.
I
mean, and that's fair, isn't it? But Fulhamish or not, you go down to Bournemouth, lovely day out. You have a, I don't know, yard of Prosecco or whatever you has as a Fulham fan on the road.
And you're labelled a bunch of prats, foul-mouthed prats. Well, yeah, I mean, Fulham did start to turn the screw a little bit in the second half, and I think, but I mean that's Fulham's problem, really. It is that lack of cutting edge up front. And it's the hardest thing for a team who are not one of the big boys to get themselves a good goal scorer, because otherwise they get pinched, whether it be by a Premier League side who's further up the table or the Saudi Pro League, Jim. Either way, it's difficult. And Jimenez and Muniz have chipped in with goals, as I say, but. If Fulham are looking at the summer transfer window, I think that is the area of the pitch that they're going to be looking at. They've got a great goalkeeper in Bernd Leno, who again produced some decent saves and stuff this evening. I think they strengthened the defence in recent windows as well. That's where they've got to look, because they didn't really look like scoring, even though they had a lot more possession, they had a lot more pressure. Bournemouth looked fairly comfortable in defence. Yeah,
I think Iwobi looked pretty lively, and he had one shot, didn't he? But it was very easily saved by Kepa. Yeah, and I think he's a lively player and he's a threat. But generally, I think you're right. That was a big part of the reason. It was very obvious it was gonna be 1-0. Yeah, and you're right. I think Muniz looks a really good player with the ball in the air. He's very good at keeping it in the air and trying to sort of fashion a chance from that. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be today, was it? And I think actually. Part of this problem, and I know you slightly disagree with me on this, but is Adama Traore's complete lack of output just a problem at this point?
Well, yeah, he's heavily criticised because everyone knows the blistering pace that he has, and he's a fine figure of a man. He's an absolute specimen, as we know. Doesn't always make the best decisions when he's got the ball, and his finishing could do with
wayward, isn't it?
Yeah, could do with a bit of improvement. So I think some people see him and they look at the pace and they look at all he's got and think, oh, it's so frustrating that he doesn't do a little bit more with that. I mean, you could turn it around and go, well, he's a limited player who has maximised his pace, and
sure.
These are kind of his strengths. But I think there have been times at Craven Cottage this season, because I go down and watch Fulham a lot, being the Fulham fan that I am, and he has come on at times and livened up the game a little bit, with that pace. It gives the opposition something to think about. If he could add a little bit more productivity, then the opposition defence would really have to think about him, if you see what I mean. You couldn't just sort of push on, or he would be there. But there have been moments. I mean, the game against Nottingham Forest at home, he was actually brilliant. Great assist he provided. Gave Nico Williams a torrid time down there. Now, I cherry picking one performance there.
Sure,
he has had injuries of late in his career, and this season he's been trying to get back in the side. And is still a bit part player. I think he's a reasonably handy squad player for a mid-table Premier League team. But you're right, there's a little bit more that could be there. And I think Silva has got a little bit more out of him this season. You'd hope next season, again, just that little bit more. I understand, though, he does frustrate people a bit. But I think when teams are playing deep, they can nullify that pace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have been saying this about him for probably 5-6 years, haven't we? If you just get a little bit more out of him, you'd have a hell of a player there. I just think he's someone that, you just cash in, and you're very, very likely to get someone who's going to contribute a bit more in that position.